I always knew my sister Rachel was ambitious, but I never thought she'd destroy our family's legacy just to take control. The signs were there, looking back, the subtle undermining, the manipulated reports, the carefully orchestrated mistakes that always seemed to happen under my supervision. But by the time I understood what was really happening, she'd already convinced everyone that I was the problem. My name is Katherine Chen, and this is how I discovered my own sister had spent 2 years systematically framing me for corporate fraud. Wong Technologies had been our family's company for 3 generations. Grandfather started it in his garage, building custom computer components when Silicon Valley was still mostly orchards. By the time Dad retired last year, we were a billion-dollar technology manufacturer with factories across Asia and clients worldwide. "You girls will run this together," Dad had said at his retirement party, beaming at Rachel and me. Catherine's technical expertise and Rachel's business acumen. The perfect combination. If only he'd known what that combination would really mean. I should have noticed something was wrong when Rachel insisted on restructuring the financial reporting system 3 months after Dad left. "It's more efficient," she'd explained, her MBA jargon flowing smoothly. "Better transparency, clearer accountability." What she didn't mention was how the new system would make it incredibly easy to manipulate data and hide transactions. I was too busy managing our production lines and development teams to see the trap being laid. The first incident happened 6 months ago. A major shipment to our biggest client was delayed, costing us millions in penalties. The paperwork showed I had personally signed off on a last-minute routing change that caused the delay. "These things happen," Rachel had said soothingly at the board meeting. "But we need to implement better oversight." I knew I hadn't signed up for him, but there was my signature, clear as day. When I tried to investigate, the original documentation had mysteriously disappeared. More problems followed. Quality control issues that traced back to processes I supposedly approved. Investment decisions that looked increasingly reckless when viewed in isolation. Each incident carefully crafted to make me appear incompetent while strengthening Rachel's position. "I'm worried about you, Kat," she'd say in front of others, her concern perfectly performed. "Maybe the stress is getting to you." But I wasn't cracking under pressure. I was finally beginning to understand the elaborate game being played. The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Linda from accounting, who'd worked with us since Dad's early days, slipped a USB drive onto my desk one evening. "Be careful who you trust," she whispered before hurrying away. "And check the digital signatures on those routing manifests." That night, analyzing the files Linda had provided, I discovered the truth. Rachel hadn't just been undermining me, she created an entire shadow operation within the company. Fake vendors, inflated contracts, mysterious consulting fees, millions siphoned away while making it appear that my departments were hemorrhaging money. The digital signatures on key documents had been copied from old files inserted so carefully that only deep forensic analysis could reveal the manipulation. Every mistake I'd supposedly made had been manufactured, building a pattern that Rachel would use to push me out. But why? Our company was successful enough for both of us. Then I found the emails. Rachel's correspondence with NovaCorp, our largest competitor. They wanted our Asian manufacturing facilities and our client relationships. Rachel would help them acquire Wong Technologies at a bargain price, after which she'd be rewarded with a CEO position in their international division. She wasn't just trying to take control, she was planning to sell our entire family legacy to our biggest rival. I took the evidence to Thomas Wong, our cousin and head of legal affairs. His face grew increasingly grim as he reviewed the files. "This is serious, Kat," he said finally. "Securities fraud, wire fraud, falsifying corporate records, but we need more. Right now, it's your word against hers. And she spent 2 years building her case against you." "Then we'll get more," I replied, thinking of the patterns I'd discovered. "She's gotten careless lately, convinced that no one's watching closely enough." Thomas nodded slowly. "The SEC has already opened a preliminary inquiry based on some suspicious transactions. If we can prove what you found." "How long to build a solid case?" 2 weeks, maybe 3. "But Kat," he hesitated, "she's calling for an emergency shareholder meeting next Tuesday. Word is she's planning to force a vote on your removal." I smiled grimly. Perfect. Let her think everything's going according to plan. The next week was a blur of careful preparation. While Rachel held confident meetings with board members, laying the groundwork for my ouster, I worked with Thomas and a small team of trusted employees to document everything. Linda proved invaluable, helping us trace the money trails through the labyrinth of shell companies Rachel had created. Every transaction, every forgery, every manipulated report, it all painted a picture of systematic fraud designed to destroy my reputation while enriching my sister. The hardest part was maintaining the pretense of ignorance. Each morning I arrived at work, nodding politely to people who'd already decided I was incompetent at best, criminal at worst. Rachel's subtle campaign had worked brilliantly. Even longtime employees avoided eye contact. "Just keep your head down," Thomas advised. "Let her think she's won. The SEC investigator is ready to move as soon as we give the signal." The night before the shareholder meeting, I sat alone in my office, looking at old family photos. Rachel and me at company picnics, working summer jobs in the factory, learning the business from the ground up. When had ambition turned to betrayal? My phone buzzed. A message from Rachel. "We should talk before tomorrow's meeting. I have a proposal that could make this easier for everyone." I didn't respond. Her version of easier would probably involve me quietly accepting blame for everything, maybe even taking a token consulting position to maintain appearances. Instead, I made one final check of our evidence. The SEC investigator was ready. Thomas had the documentation organized. Linda had backed up everything securely off-site. Tomorrow would change everything. But first, I had to let my sister think she won. Right up until the moment the truth was revealed. I touched the photo on my desk. Dad, Rachel, and me at the factory opening in Shanghai. We were smiling, arms around each other, unaware of how greed would tear us apart. "I'm sorry, Dad," I whispered, "but sometimes protecting the family legacy means exposing family secrets." The office grew quiet as night fell. Somewhere in the building, Rachel was probably rehearsing her speech for tomorrow, planning how she'd gracefully accept control of the company she tried to destroy. She had no idea what was really coming. The boardroom was packed when I arrived the next morning. Board members, major shareholders, even a few reporters Rachel had invited to witness my humiliation. She stood at the head of the table, elegant in a designer suit, radiating confident authority. "Katherine," she nodded coolly as I took my seat. "I trust you've considered my offer." "I have," I replied quietly. She smiled, probably mistaking my calm for resignation. The meeting began with Rachel's carefully crafted presentation. Slides showing declining performance in my divisions. Charts highlighting questionable decisions. Each point building toward the inevitable conclusion that I was unfit to lead. "It pains me to do this," Rachel said, her voice carrying just the right note of regret. "But as CEO, I have a responsibility to our shareholders, our employees, and our family's legacy." I watched the board members nodding along, completely convinced by her performance. 2 years of manipulation had done its work. They saw exactly what she wanted them to see. Therefore, she continued, "I move for an immediate vote on Katherine Chen's removal from all operational positions within Wong Technologies and a transfer of her voting shares to executive management." The room was silent, waiting for my response. Rachel gave me an almost pitying look. "Would you like to say anything before we proceed with the vote?" I stood slowly, adjusting my jacket. "Actually, yes. I'd like to introduce someone." I walked to the boardroom door and opened it. "Please welcome Special Agent Sarah Martinez from the Securities and Exchange Commission." Rachel's composure cracked for just a moment as Agent Martinez entered, carrying a thick folder of documents. Behind her came Thomas and Linda, both carrying additional files. "What is this?" Rachel demanded, but there was a tremor in her voice. "This," Agent Martinez announced, "is the result of a 6-month investigation into securities fraud, wire fraud, and corporate malfeasance at Wong Technologies." She began distributing documents to the stunned board members. "These allegations are ridiculous." Rachel tried to interrupt, but her voice faltered as she saw what was being handed out. "Page 3, I said calmly. "The routing manifests that supposedly bear my signature. The SEC's forensic team found some interesting irregularities in the digital signatures." The board members flipped pages frantically as I continued. Page 12 shows the money trail through shell companies established under various aliases. Page 21 contains emails between Rachel Chen and executives at Nova Corp, discussing the planned sale of Wong Technologies' Asian operations. Rachel's face had gone pale. This is a desperate attempt to what? I cut in. To expose how you've spent 2 years systematically looting our company while setting me up to take the blame? To reveal your plan to sell our family's legacy to our biggest competitor. Linda stepped forward, adding her own documents to the growing pile. The accounting irregularities are all documented here. False vendors, inflated contracts, unauthorized payments, all carefully structured to appear to come from Catherine's departments. But there's one thing you didn't count on, Thomas added, his legal training evident in his precise tone. People who care about this company enough to look deeper, to question things that didn't add up. The boardroom erupted in chaos. Shareholders demanded explanations. Board members huddled with their lawyers. The reporters Rachel had invited were frantically taking notes, though this wasn't the story they'd expected to cover. Rachel made one last attempt to regain control. These are baseless accusations. I've spent years building this company. No, I interrupted firmly. You've spent years destroying it from within. The only thing you built was an elaborate fraud designed to enrich yourself at the expense of everyone else. Agent Martinez stepped forward. Ms. Rachel Chen, I have a warrant for your arrest on multiple counts of securities fraud, wire fraud, and conspiracy to commit corporate espionage. As federal agents led my sister away in handcuffs, I felt no satisfaction, only sadness for what greed and ambition had done to our family. The aftermath was intense but necessary. A complete audit revealed the full scope of Rachel's scheme, nearly $100 million diverted through various fraudulent means. The planned sale to Nova Corp would have stripped Wong Technologies of its most valuable assets for a fraction of their worth. Dad came out of retirement temporarily to help stabilize the company. The look of pain on his face when he finally understood what Rachel had done would haunt me for years. I should have seen it, he said one evening as we worked late, rebuilding trust with clients and employees. All those changes she pushed through after I left. She fooled everyone. I replied gently. She counted on our trust, used it against us. The recovery took months. We had to restructure departments, implement new financial controls, rebuild relationships damaged by Rachel's actions. But slowly, steadily, Wong Technologies began to heal. 6 months after Rachel's arrest, I stood in our Shanghai factory, watching the production lines she tried to sell off. The rhythmic movement of the machines seemed to echo the heartbeat of our company, steady, reliable, honest. Linda joined me on the observation deck. The new oversight systems are working perfectly, she reported. Every transaction traceable, every signature verifiable. No more shadows to hide in. I nodded, thinking of the lessons we'd learned. Trust is precious in family businesses, but it needs to be balanced with accountability. Rachel's betrayal had taught us that the hard way. The legal proceedings were still ongoing, but the evidence was overwhelming. Rachel had traded our family's legacy for personal gain, destroying relationships that had taken generations to build. Yet from those ashes, something stronger was emerging. Wong Technologies' new governance structure included robust checks and balances. Transparency wasn't just a buzzword anymore. It was built into every process, every decision. 1 year after the shareholder meeting that changed everything, we gathered for a different kind of meeting. Employee ownership shares were being distributed, making everyone invested in the company's success. The culture of secrecy that Rachel had cultivated was replaced with open communication and shared responsibility. Dad attended, looking both proud and wistful. Your grandfather, he said during his speech, built this company on a foundation of integrity. Sometimes it takes a crisis to remind us what really matters. I kept Rachel's old nameplate from the boardroom, not as a trophy but as a reminder. Success built on deception never lasts. True leadership isn't about control or power. It's about building something that helps everyone grow stronger together. The company flourished under the new structure. Our innovation teams, free from the cloud of suspicion Rachel had created, developed breakthrough technologies. Employee morale soared. Even our stock price reached new highs as the market recognized our renewed strength. Sometimes late at night, I still look at those old family photos and wonder how things might have been different. If Rachel had channeled her ambition into building rather than destroying, what might we have achieved together? But the past can't be changed. What matters is the future we build from its lessons. Wong Technologies survived not just because we exposed the fraud, but because we used that crisis to become better, stronger, more transparent. That's the real legacy now, not just a successful company, but a testament to the power of truth over deception, of collaboration over control, of building something that lasts. And somewhere, I know grandfather is smiling about that.